everyone, and welcome back to Exposing SMG. While most people are taking on 2023 with new healthy habits in mind, leaving burdens and negativity in 2022, Prince Harry is sticking to his embarrassing roots. No, not being the son of the King of England, but being someone who sits in tell-all interviews and airs dirty family laundry on national television, as a reality star would. That's what it's come to. But at least they gave us a break during the holidays, right? I covered episodes 1 through 4 of the Harry and Meghan Netflix soap opera, where I exposed 16 lies told through the episodes, and I am working on recaps for episode 5 and 6, so be sure to be tuned in for that, subscribe, turn on the bell notification so you don't miss the tea, and without further ado, let's talk about Harry's 2 new interviews, one in the US and one in the UK. Fear not, we will be covering the interviews which will premiere on January 8th. One with Anderson Cooper, 60 Minutes on CBS, the other with Tom Bradby with the UK ITV. I will tell you everything he says that's of value, which is pretty hard to come across these days with him and his D-list actress wife Meghan Markle. We will expose any lies he spews, which I predict he will, considering both he and Meghan are really garnering a reputation for being pathological liars. Harry is releasing his new memoir Spare, so he's doing a bunch of tell-all interviews to promote it. Nothing like starting off the year continuing to sell out your family and air out your family drama for a check. Not like he has anything else to offer. Maureen Callahan writes, "When your publisher is slashing your book's price by 30% as a pre-sale promotion before it hits the stands, it seems like your book is in trouble. When no major print outlet is running an extract ahead of publication, well, that's a clue there's nothing really in it." Now, of course, this was all before the news of The Guardian releasing an excerpt from his book about his fight with Prince William, which a video about that just went up. So, of course, I guess sales weren't looking too good, so they had to scramble. And this is the book that was being protected like a Harry Potter release book. But now all the media publications have a copy, surprisingly, right before release. The trailer for the CBS interview with Anderson Cooper dropped on January 1st, barely giving anyone a well-needed break from their delusional lies, showcases Harry moaning and crying about the royal family some more. You might ask yourself, what more can he say after a 2-hour interview with Oprah and a 6-hour moan fest with Netflix? Well, for liars, the opportunities are endless. In one trailer, Anderson Cooper asks Harry if he can see himself returning to working as a full-time royal with the royal family, to which Harry says no. But I think the better question is, would the royal family even allow him to work alongside them for the duty of their country after the embarrassing shenanigans he and Meghan have done, branding themselves as literal sellouts? Maybe those are the questions we should be asking. Harry claims he wants to do this privately, but he was left with no choice but to take a public stand because of the leaking and planting of stories from the palace. Now, I don't really expect any new tea to be spilled from this man, considering he's just reheating tea he forcibly shoved down our throats on Netflix, and any tea he's releasing now, royal biographers have already done so years ago. He talks about how the palace speaks with a royal correspondent who then writes the story that the palace supposedly spoon-fed them. And as I've said in my previous videos on my recap episodes, no duh. This is how the media works. The royal correspondents work as spokespeople for the palace. Harry and Meghan have done the same, so much as to recruit 2 authors to write a story about them. Finding freedom. However you define freedom may differ from how I define it, but I sure don't think leaving a family to which you've abused the money and status you got from being part of it falls under my definition of freedom. But hey, narcissists do have different definitions. What's interesting is that in the clip he goes from talking about the family to Buckingham Palace. And when he's talking about the family, he's kind of like detached himself from it. He doesn't say my family. And then in that same minute, but maybe it was a different part of the interview and it was a trailer that's deceptive, like their Netflix trailer, he starts talking about Buckingham Palace. So is this going to be another interview where the trailer looks like he's blaming the royal family, but really his issue is the British media once again? Now, what I find interesting is how Harry keeps repeating this one-liner of the planting and leaking of stories, but he isn't actually telling us what stories were planted or leaked. Instead, he keeps saying the palace never defended him or his wife. But again, that's a lie. He wrote 8 times the palace defended both he and Meghan, but mainly Meghan. In 2018, Kensington Palace issued a statement on such a mundane story, a Meghan lookalike picking up dog poop near Kensington Palace. Now, I doubt the palace cared for such a story to be clarified, but Meghan probably doesn't want anyone thinking that anyone of her status can dare bend down to pick up any dog poo. In 2018, Kensington Palace issued a statement denying a feud between Kate Middleton and Meghan Markle. amid a story released by People saying that Kate was angry with Meghan because Meghan was yelling at her staff. Mind you, the story is true and elaborated on by so many different reports, but the palace lied because they wanted to defend the new wife of the prince, so they denied the story. Meanwhile, if they confirmed it, it would make Meghan look bad. In 2019, the palace broke their silence by saying that Meghan and Harry aren't raising their baby as gender fluid. Again, another mundane story that was probably something Meghan wanted to be refuted, and they followed. The palace also denied a story saying that Meghan banned Harry from a Boxing Day shoot amid reports that he has no mind of his own, something he graciously confirms to us daily. In 2020, the palace denied that Harry and Meghan were using an LA endorsement firm, something that helped the public calm down as Meghan and Harry announced they were stepping down as senior royals to be more private. In 2016, Kensington Palace released an official statement calling out the media over their treatment of Meghan, something that Meghan reportedly moaned and cried about until Harry made the palace put out a statement. But if he was able to put out a statement for a girlfriend back in the day, how is he not able to put out statements for his wife and the mother of his baby as he claims? The palace has royal correspondents available for all royals to brief the media on them. Harry and Meghan tell us that in their Netflix soap opera. Suddenly those correspondents didn't exist for them? Or did Meghan and Harry want to act like children and want the palace to wake up one day with their top priority as defending Meghan and Harry from the media? Because Harry didn't want to lift up his phone and call his communications team to be like, hey, put out this story. You can never tell with liars. In 2019, the palace denied that Meghan and Harry banned neighbors from approaching them. Buckingham Palace released a statement saying that Harry and Meghan's strict guidelines on their neighbors not to speak to them is not true. But I have many sources that tip me off saying that the story is actually true. Meghan's own actions provide credibility for the story that she didn't allow neighbors to speak to her or Harry, considering she cleared out all the seats and rows near her when she was in Wimbledon in 2019, and it was revealed that her security team told the other attendees not to take any pictures of her. Meanwhile, the day before, Kate Middleton sat and watched the matches gracefully in the middle of a crowd, not once complaining or sitting like there was a gun to her head. Instead, she was all smiles. It's situations like these that show each person's true nature, and it makes me laugh when Meghan complains about how the press treats her and Catherine differently, but maybe she should dig deeper and ask herself, how do I behave differently? So these are just a few examples of how many times the palace has defended Meghan. I think someone else made a video saying they released out like 17 official statements in 18 months. And honestly, there's only so much defending they can do when Meghan was a menace behind closed doors, and the palace covering up her behavior reflects badly on them. And honestly, Harry is a nasty person too, because I'm pretty sure he didn't mind when the palace did damage control over his scandals. Remember when he called his Pakistani colleague slurs? When he told another soldier who wore a head wrap, he called him, I think, a raghead? Or when he told a black comedian, "You don't sound black," which feeds the stereotype that black people sound one way, and oftentimes that statement has a negative connotation to it. Never forget when he dressed up as a Nazi at 20 years old. Oh wait, he's actually nowadays blaming William and Catherine on that decision. Oh yeah, did they tell you to also mingle with people at the party that were in blackface and were dressed up as the KKK? Now listen, I learned about the Holocaust in middle school as an 11-year-old. I know what the symbol represented, and quite frankly, I didn't find the Holocaust funny or that dressing up as a torture police would be cool. Nor am I blaming any of my actions I made as an adult who is well capable of understanding these issues, on my brother and sister-in-law. Like, take accountability. This also kind of takes away from his apologies throughout the years on Netflix, because now, it wasn't his fault. He wanted to dress up as a nice, moral, he actually wanted to go as Martin Luther King, because that's how much he loves racial issues. But instead, William, he bullied him and made him dress up as a Nazi. Does he hear himself? Do you guys hear this? How about in 2005 when Harry said, "She's not black or anything, you know," when asked about the Zimbabwean roots of his girlfriend Chelsea Davy? As if her being black or having black roots is something to be ashamed of, he had to clarify. So forgive me if I don't take Harry seriously when he wants to moan about the palace and royal correspondence. He's just retaliating on the palace because they don't want to keep up with his bullshit any longer. Mr. The Palace is racist is the only person I've seen be racist to a category of people. Oh, his racism doesn't stop at black people. He wants to make a mockery of Jewish people. He wants to make a mockery of South Asians, of Arabs, and God knows what other scandals the palace covered up for this spoiled 38-year-old frat boy. The only people who are leaking stories to the press are Harry and Meghan. Gayle King literally said that she picked up the phone and called them, to which they were leaking information of the private conversations between family, saying the conversations weren't productive, something that Gayle King had no problem spilling on national TV in America.
Now, CBS's Gayle King says she picked up the phone, she called Harry and Meghan.
The word I was given was that those conversations were not productive.
And this was long before Harry and Meghan spoke on Netflix. So they were originally leaking stories about palace conversations. The palace wasn't doing anything, but they have been the only ones talking for the last 3 years. Not to mention how he thinks his father leaked the news to the press about how they were stepping down from their royal roles. Meanwhile, Dan Wootman, the journalist who broke the story, exposed that he got the story before Harry sent the email to his father.
Contents of the letter between me and my father had been leaked. That was the giveaway.
Well, sorry to disappoint you, Harry. I had the story before you sent the email to your dad. So once again, your claims, not backed up by any evidence, do not stand the truth test.
Now, it's funny how he keeps claiming the royal journalists have been leaking stories, but they can't name one person or one story. Instead, royal correspondents are coming out to call them liars. Royal correspondent Emily Andrews rejects Prince Harry's claim that Buckingham Palace ever leaked stories about him and Meghan, and says that what it came down to was control. Meghan and Harry wanted to control the media, so it was only positive. Harry also says that he wants a family, not an institution. Surrender the titles then, since you don't want the institution, and don't use the millions and millions of dollars that came from the very institution. As a matter of fact, drop the prince title. Oh, but what are they doing now? Oh, they just released another Netflix production. They probably did nothing on it except slap their names to it. And what is that written? Oh, right, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. I don't get it. He wants a family but not a monarchy, yet he wants monarchical titles for his kids. He blames his family for leaking and ghosting, yet his wife has been exposed as the queen of leaking stories, and she's ghosted literally everyone in her family. And at his grown age, he accepts no responsibility. It's everyone else's fault except his. What's next? Prince George made Meghan bully Princess Charlotte? In a different interview with Tom Bradby, Harry says, "I would like to get my father back. I would like to have my brother back. They feel as though it's better to keep us somehow as the villains. They have shown absolutely no willingness to reconcile." Tom Bradby is the same person who interviewed Meghan in South Africa, where she gave that god-awful answer of, "No one asked me if I'm okay." Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I want to make amends with someone I had a falling out with, I don't constantly trash them and leak our dirty laundry in front of the world. King Charles asked Harry and his family to come and visit at his Highgrove home just weeks before the late Queen's passing, and reiterated his invitation for him and Meghan and their 2 children to visit him in Scotland when on holiday. They're the ones that didn't want to go, even though Harry knew that his grandmother was dying. The same royal source that Harry kept moaning about revealed to the Mirror last year how Charles and Harry had apparently several good-natured and enjoyable video calls in the previous months after the interview with Oprah. And this story makes Harry look good, but if I were Charles, the last thing I would do is contact a sellout who airs that family drama on national TV. But hey, isn't that the reason Meghan has for cutting off her father? Also, Harry and Meghan need absolutely no help in looking like the villains here. They're doing a great job of that all on their own. The public hates them for their actions, not the palace that's remained silent. People who hate them nowadays have word-from-word video proof of why they hate Meghan and Harry. Marissa Callahan writes, "Once upon a time, these two had so much goodwill. Harry was once the favorite prince, considered more charismatic, down-to-earth, freewheeling. Now we see what a great job the palace did in managing his image. The more he and Meghan complain, the more their wall of lies crumbles. Maybe 2024 is the year they'll finally grow up." I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to let me know what you think down in the comments below. Check out our Meghan and Harry playlist. Follow us on our social media, like and subscribe for more videos each week. And as always, I'll see you next time.